One day, while sitting on a park bench journaling, I got chatting with a handsome American guy who'd been sat on the bench next to me. He looked to be in his mid-20s and had a youthful energy about him. He was in Southampton on vacation and was loving exploring the UK. We introduced ourselves, but I didn't quite catch his name. He was fun to chat with. He told me he was a race car driver in the US. I told him I hoped to include the US in my travels, which he seemed pleased to hear. We were getting along great, so when he invited me to join him for a burger at Wimpy's, I said sure. "What was your name again?" I asked as we strolled along. "It's Skid Martin," he answered with a grin. "Ah, perfect name for a race car driver," I grinned back. He nodded and laughed. Skid had parked his flashy sports car that he'd hired near the park and suggested that we drive over to the burger place as it was way on the other side of town. I said okay and jumped into the open-top sports car. He was a really nice guy and I liked his friendly way. Aside from American kids who'd visited my hometown when I was younger, he was the first American grown-up I'd ever met, and I hoped that all Americans were nice like him. "So what were you writing earlier?" he asked with a smile. I told him that I was keeping a journal of my travels. "Oh, make sure to write me in as the handsome American," he joked. "Of course," I joked back with a grin. His flirting seemed harmless, and my impression was that he was just happy to have some company while travelling alone in a foreign country. "Shall we head back to the park? Where do you need to go?" asked Skid as we finished off our burgers. "I don't really have far to go from here, so I can walk, thanks, Skid," I answered. "Okay, well, it was great to meet you, Della. I'm heading north tomorrow to explore more of Blighty, so I'm not sure when we'll meet again. Not on this side of the pond, at least. Be sure to look me up if you make it to LA, he said with a big smile as he patted my arm. "Will do, thanks for the burger," I answered, smiling back as we headed out to the street. Skid gave me a little hug, then jumped into his car. "Bye, Skid," I shouted after him as he waved and zoomed off down the road and out of my day. I wished him well and wondered if we ever would meet again. As I walked along, I took out the piece of paper he'd written his contact details on. His writing was hard to read as he'd written it very fast, but it looked like it read Mark Kid Martin, followed by his address. I realized that his nickname was actually Kid and not Skid. He must have found it amusing that I called him Skid the whole time, but was probably too polite to correct me.